Alright, let's be honest. The world is about as stable as a newborn giraffe on roller skates right now. Things are changing, and fast. America's once unquestioned dominance is facing some serious pushback, and not just from the usual suspects. Former allies are now leaving it on red. This shift is reshaping international relations and challenging the established world order. Buckle up because this list might just surprise you. First up, we're heading down south to Brazil, a country with a love-hate relationship with the US. Under President Lula da Silva, Brazil's been taking big swings away from Washington. They're deepening ties with China and Russia. Over 30% of their trade is in Chinese yuan, and those US sanctions on Brazil's agricultural exports, not well received. Brazil snubbed a US military agreement, cozying up to Russia instead. Arms imports from Russia have skyrocketed. Only 34% of Brazilians view the US favorably. With growing anti-American sentiment, Brazil is carving its own path. Next up, we're jetting over to the Middle East, where Saudi Arabia, once America's ride or die, is acting distant. The Saudis are tired of playing by America's rules, especially with oil. In 2025, Saudi Arabia priced a big chunk of oil sales in Chinese yuan. Saudi oil exports to China hit 2 million barrels per day, while US exports plummeted. Military tensions are heating up too. The Biden administration's arms sales freeze led to a defense deal with Russia. Saudi Arabia joined BRICS in 2024. They're not hiding their new relationship status anymore. Saudi Arabia is off the market and not looking back. The relationship's strained, trust is fractured, and the future's uncertain. Now let's talk Turkey. Under President Erdogan, Turkey's decided they're done with the drama. They're breaking up with America for good, and this time, they're taking the dog. Despite repeated warnings from Washington, Ankara went ahead and made the purchase of Russian S-400 missile defense systems in early 2025. The US responded with sanctions, but Turkey wasn't fazed. Trade with China is booming, exceeding $50 billion annually. A recent Metropol survey revealed that 68% of Turkish citizens see the US as a threat to national security. Turkey is done playing by America's rules. They're writing their own story now. They're ready to take center stage. Next on our world tour of countries giving Uncle Sam the side eye, we arrive in South Africa. South Africa's gone full BRICS, baby, and they're not looking back. As a key member of this increasingly powerful bloc, South Africa's done with Western economic dominance. When the US tried to pressure South Africa into supporting sanctions on Russia, Pretoria ramped up trade and military cooperation with Moscow. Anti-American protests have been sweeping the nation. A recent Ipsos poll showed US favorability in South Africa has plummeted to 27%. South Africa's making it clear they're done being told what to do. They're charting their own course with the BRICS by their side. Now, let's talk about the neighbors to the south. Mexico and the US, a relationship more complicated than a telenovela plot, full of love, betrayal, and enough drama to make your head spin. By 2025, the love story's starting to sour. Economic disputes, immigration tensions, and political disagreements have Mexico rethinking this whole best friends forever thing. China officially stole the top spot as Mexico's biggest trading partner in 2025. The US's hardline stance on border security has been rubbing Mexico the wrong way. Mexico decided to invite Russian and Chinese firms to help with their energy infrastructure projects. The relationship's strained, the trust is fractured, and the future's uncertain. Next up, we're heading east to India, a country playing a delicate game of geopolitical chess. By 2025, India's done playing second fiddle. They're ready to be the queen on the chessboard. They're deepening ties with BRICS nations, especially Russia. In 2025, they expanded trade with Moscow, ramping up oil imports. Strengthening defense ties, they signed a $7 billion deal for jets and missiles. When pressured to exclude Huawei from 5G, India said, "Nah, we're good." A Pew poll showed only 42% of Indians view the US favorably. In geopolitics, it pays to be friends with everyone. Now let's hop over to Europe, where Germany, America's stalwart ally, is starting to get a little restless. For years, Germany's been the model student, but lately, they've been questioning everything they thought they knew about the world. The fallout from sanctions on Russia hit Germany harder than a bratwurst hangover. Germany's been increasingly critical of US trade policies, calling them out for being more protectionist. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, with its subsidies for American-made goods, went over about as well as a lead balloon at a birthday party. Germany's been pushing for greater European defense autonomy. They still love America, but they're not afraid to stand up for themselves. Germany's ready to take center stage. Let's be honest, folks, Iran and the US have a more tumultuous relationship than a roller coaster designed by a toddler. By 2025, things haven't exactly calmed down. Iran's been deepening its military cooperation with Russia and China, signing a $10 billion arms deal with Moscow. The nuclear issue? Yeah, that's still a thing. Negotiations collapsed in 2025, leaving the world holding its breath. Iran's not afraid to stand up to the US, to challenge the status quo, and to forge their own path. They're survivors, weathering storms that would make other nations crumble. They're a reminder that the world is a complex place, full of nuances and competing interests. Well, folks, it wouldn't be a proper discussion about global power shifts without mentioning the bear in the room, Russia. The rivalry between Russia and the US is about as subtle as a bear trap in a sock drawer. By 2025, that resentment has reached a boiling point. Russia's positioning itself as the anti-America, the champion of those who feel marginalized by the West. Economically, they've pivoted towards China and the BRICS nations, forging new partnerships. Militarily, they're expanding their global presence, strengthening alliances with countries like Iran and North Korea. The relationship between Russia and the US is complex, fraught with historical baggage and mistrust. But one thing's for sure, the bear's back and it's not afraid to roar. And finally, we arrive at the dragon in the room, China. China's not just challenging US dominance, they're coming for the crown jewels. Economically, they're working tirelessly to dethrone the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Militarily, they're expanding their presence in the South China Sea, modernizing their armed forces. Technologically, they're surpassing the US in key industries like AI and quantum computing. The rise of China is arguably the most significant geopolitical development of the 21st century. They're a force to be reckoned with, a country on a mission. The dragon is ascendant, and the game has just begun. So, there you have it, folks. 10 countries, 10 different stories, 10 different ways the world is shifting beneath our feet. Change is inevitable. The world is dynamic, constantly evolving. What do you think? Is the world headed for a multipolar future? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore our channel. It pays to stay informed.